Greetings, good people. This is Boogie. I'm going to do a nighttime car series. Most people doing it the day. I'm doing it at night because, well, I'm a night owl. This is my creative time, and I like it. So, I'm just going to be talking about topics, things that are important to me, things that are part of the public discourse, and I'm going to be talking about them in a way that I think is going to dead a lot of the conversation and stop all of these circles we're running in. I think that if people were honest, were straightforward, had integrity, and didn't care about whether they were correct or incorrect, but cared about the truth, we wouldn't have all these conversations. And we wouldn't fail to present things that would illuminate, because we would care more about the illumination of the truth than the perpetuation of our opinions. So the first thing I want to talk about is reverse discrimination, reverse racism, which I think are two of the dumbest terms on the planet, but they're part of the public discourse, so let's have a conversation. Reverse means to go backwards or in the opposite direction of whatever it was that was traveling. So to say reverse discrimination or reverse racism is to admit that at first there was racism or discrimination. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be reverse racism or discrimination. It would be just racism or discrimination. So when we say reverse racism, discrimination, we are admitting that if we're going backwards, that racism and discrimination flowed from America toward black people, and now they're saying it's flowing backwards toward America and everybody in it that's not black. But this is the thing about it. Racism and discrimination, similar terms, but let's break them down. Racism, and I'm doing a dictionary definition, is basically antagonistic, negative, harmful treatment based on someone's belonging to an ethnicity or race. Discrimination is prejudicial or poor treatment to people based on a group that they are part of: gender, age, sex, ethnicity, or race. So both of them are pinpointed negative behavior towards somebody based on who or what they are. But if you look at the nature of reverse discrimination and reverse racism that they're claiming, there is no specific group. It hits everybody who has not been discriminated against. That's not a group. And it hits people who benefited, who have privilege based on past discriminatory or racist behavior. So that's by definition not racism or discrimination, because we hit everybody. It is just called justice and fairness. For what you're talking about, what people are talking about, that would be saying if someone robbed somebody and then they were forced to give the money back, they would call that reverse robbery. You're taking my money from me and giving it to him. No, I'm taking the money that you benefited from the theft of him, and returning it to him. That's not called reverse theft or robbery. That's called justice. That's called fairness. And so if black people have been robbed of access, privilege, money, property, and then we get access to it, that's not reverse anything. That is returning what was taken, or in this case, what was disallowed from the beginning that was promised to everybody who calls themselves and identifies as a citizen of this country. So it's not reverse anything. And then this is the other part that kills me. We talk about we're going to sue this institution for racist or discriminatory practices, reverse racism and discriminatory practices. But then we say there's no such thing as institutional racism. Why are we suing institutions for racist and discriminatory practices if there's no such thing as institutional racism or discrimination that's passed down? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So then we get into, and I got notes because I want to make sure I hit everything. What do we want to talk about next? Oh, we want to talk about when people are getting in these universities, some people say, well, you know what? It's not fair because I didn't do anything and I'm not benefiting from racism or discrimination. And that's not true. Anybody who is participating, involved in, benefiting from an institution that had racist or discriminatory practices is benefiting from racism and discrimination. Let me explain how. See this. Black people, believe it or not, we're intelligent. We have geniuses. We have average people. We have below average people, just like every other ethnicity, every other race. So if we were allowed access, that means the geniuses of us would reduce the amount of spots that were accessible to other people. And then those who were better than folks from other ethnicities, races, cultures, whatever, we would have spots. And then the average people would fight it out based on whatever criteria the average people fight it out on. But there will be spots. There will be opportunities. There will be benefits that other ethnicities, nationalities, races would not have access to if black people were always allowed to be in the competition. We would have reduced the available spots. So anybody who got a spot benefited from us not being able to compete for that spot. And then I know what you say, well, it wouldn't have been my spot. But then think about what that means. If everybody says it wouldn't have been my spot, then what you're saying is everybody of every ethnicity, race, or nationality is better than all black people because black people would have never been able to take anybody's spot, which is an inherently racist and discriminatory thought. See how that works? By grouping people together and saying overtly that none of them would have, could have, or will do is racist and discriminatory. It is a prejudicial, antagonistic, negative behavior or thought based on a person's belonging to an ethnicity or race. But that's not the most insidious part. The most insidious part is the ignorance that allowed the term to come. And the way that that happened is people are tired of positive, good things. Not all people, some people. And they attempt to destroy all objectivity so everything can be up for grabs and we'll end up in chaos. And then people can slip in and do dumb things like sue a black woman organization for helping black women and saying it's discriminatory and racist. And so let me explain this with the terms toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. I even heard toxic heterosexuality. And the way that this works is you take something positive, you throw away the negative or the opposite of it, and then you describe that negative or opposite in terms of the positive. So back in the day, we had heroes, we had punks. We had gentlemen, we had misogynists. We had courtesy and we had discourtesy. We had women who were women's, we had those who were madams. We had those who were industrious, we had those who were gold diggers. We had those who were self-fulfilling prophecies of greatness and where they were going to go. And we had those who were going to college looking for a man. But now, all of the negative is gone and all we have is toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. As if the negative exists because it is a dysfunctional property or part of the positive. That's not the way that works. That would be like calling theft, kleptomania, toxic integrity, and like calling promiscuity toxic virginity. So you're not a hoe, male or female. You're not a thief, male or female. You have toxic integrity, or you have toxic virginity. I mean, it just sounds stupid, but it's no dumber than reverse discrimination or reverse racism. And to have these conversations where we're not calling this out on its face is the reason that we're in the place that we're in. Because people don't want to be honest. They don't want to bring forth facts. They don't want to use definitions. They want to use their emotions. They want to use their opinions, and they want to use those like their facts and act like there are no facts. There are facts. There's evidence. There's logic. There's reason. And there's thinking, and there are thoughts. And just because you think or have a thought does not mean you're using logic or reason. So quit saying you're reasoning. Some of you are just thinking without logic or reason or facts or evidence. So no, there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. It's called fairness. It's called justice. It's called about returning or allowing what was stolen or never given that was deserved and inherent in the fact that we're alive and that we're people and that we're deserving of it. So reverse discrimination, reverse racism, if you cop to those, you are either ignorant of what they are, you either are an opportunist who doesn't care, or you're a racist, discriminatory person who does not care about fairness and justice, and you want the scales to remain tipped in your favor, and you're willing to lie, cheat, and steal to keep it that way. Just my thoughts. Deuces.